Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled, Why Are So Many Blood Moons Being Observed? Now, in the last two articles I wrote, that was article 293 entitled The Fake Blood Red Moon of July 27, 2018, and article 294, where I focused on the time of totality, which was just too long. I wrote about the fact that the blood red moon of July 27, 2018 appears to be fake and produced by a holographic projection, as the color of the moon from some of the observatories was pink, which is impossible to occur as a result of an eclipse, as only orange or red light should be reaching the moon at that time. And also because the resolution through observatory telescopes is not any better than the resolution obtained through a cell phone camera. So in other words, when the moon is in the shadow of the earth, that's what causes the eclipse, no blue light is supposed to reach it, only red light. All the blue light was scattered by the atmosphere, removed from sunlight by the atmosphere. There's no blue light to reach the moon. And yet we saw images like this where the moon appears to be pink. Now, pink is a combination of blue and red. This is not red, this is pink. So there's blue here. So there's blue light. This would indicate that there's blue light reaching the moon, but this is impossible. It's not possible for blue light to get into the Earth's shadow. It all got removed by the atmosphere. So what we're seeing here is something which is impossible. In other words, this cannot be a natural eclipse. Now, in addition, the time of totality was longer than the maximum time during which an eclipse can occur, which is 96 minutes. So an eclipse that's longer than 96 minutes is basically impossible unless the moon's orbit has changed. And why would the moon's orbit have changed? So the time of totality for this particular blood red moon was 103 minutes, which is a little too long, 7 minutes too long. So which would either indicate that the moon's orbit has changed, or the powers that be are simply pushing the length of the eclipses in order to be able to hide something in Earth's skies. So again, we see a pink moon, which is impossible. Now, pink moon, and this was seen from this observatory, Al Sadim Observatory, and that's from the United Arab Emirates, and that's in the Middle East. And yet it was not seen from other observatories, such as the one in South Africa. But all of these points on the surface of the Earth were supposed to be observing the same event out in space. And it should therefore be impossible for observers to see a different colored moon from different points on the surface of the Earth. They're all observing the same moon in the shadow of the Earth. They should all be observing exactly the same thing at the same time. So thus, each region was viewing a different eclipse, which can only be accomplished with a different holographic projection within the atmosphere, each different region. Already the fact that we have a pink moon tells us it's got to be a holographic projection. It's either a holographic projection or CGI, but it cannot be a natural eclipse. And why would one region produce a pink projection of the moon whilst another produces a red projection of the moon? The likely reason was that there was a pink light emitting object which would look very much like a pink moon, but possibly without the moon's features in the sky in the region where the pink moon was produced. And that pink moon projection was superimposed on the pink light emitting object in order to hide it from you. This would require the pink object to be in orbit around the Earth, as its orbit would need to be known ahead of time in order for the cover-up to be planned ahead of time. And here we see some other strange anomalies in our skies. connected with pink. We see these clouds that seem to be pink. In fact, they're not just pink. We can see this looks a bit purplish here, this looks more red, and this looks orange. So if we see pink in our skies, there's only two possibilities. Both of them not natural, because we're only supposed to have white and gray clouds in the Earth's atmosphere. If it's close to sunset, the sun may be just behind the clouds. We may see some reddish clouds, but otherwise we're supposed to see white and gray clouds. That's it. But we're definitely seeing these clouds that are red, pink, purple, and orange here. Now, pink skies indicate that either the clouds are being illuminated by pink light, or the clouds themselves are emitting pink light due to the Earth's atmosphere interacting with stellar core matter. Now, the clouds seen here in this image are most likely emitting light. And that's because we see the different colors. And if it wasn't the different colors that the cloud was actually emitting, it would have to be illuminated by objects emitting all these different colors. And it just doesn't look like there's any object in the sky that could possibly illuminate this part of the cloud with orange, and that part with red, and that part with pink. So this is likely to actually be clouds that were produced by stellar core dust entering the atmosphere, a cloud condensing around the dust, and then through the energy absorption process of the dust, then we get light emission from the clouds themselves. Now, in this right image, we see an object in the sky, and it has to be below cloud altitude because we see there are clouds above it. And this object seems to be surrounded by some diffuse cloud of material that's emitting light. Again, that would be the condensation that occurs around these objects, and then there's light emission from them. So this is a pink light emitting cloud around a stellar core object, maybe asteroid size. It's small enough to be under a cloud and suspended in the air. Now the green arrow is actually pointing to this object, which is an artificial device in the atmosphere, most likely there to possibly cover up the presence of this stellar core material and its light emission, but obviously failed. And we know it's artificial because it's pentagonal. It has 5 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a device. It's an artificial object. So, but what we have here is stellar core matter. As you can see, it has a nucleus. It will possibly be a piece, maybe looking like an asteroid, but surrounded by the cloud. It's obviously pulling matter from the Earth's atmosphere because we see a pink tail here behind it. And it's emitting light from the tail as well. So this is probably an asteroid-sized object followed by some stellar core dust behind it, and all of it has condensed or is just pulling in matter towards it, and all of this is interacting with this matter in here, and it's causing this light emission. Now, if clouds are pink due to being illuminated by a pink light source, then the clouds will eventually return to a normal color as the object moves away from the clouds. But either way, we still have a pink light source, and that means stellar core matter in the atmosphere somewhere illuminating other clouds. So if the clouds themselves are emitting the light, then it is because the clouds condensed around the stellar core matter, and its energy absorption ability is leading to the clouds emitting the strange colors. This indicates that we may have stellar core matter of different sizes entering the atmosphere, from tiny dust particles to asteroid-sized objects, and possibly, very likely, in fact, small stellar cores which are orbiting the Earth and may look like moons in the sky. Now, since July 27, 2018, I have received reports of people seeing an orange or red moon in the sky, and 2 days after the scheduled eclipse. And these images come from Canada. They were taken on July 29th. And they show what seems to be a red moon in the sky. As you can see, it looks like the red moon there. And here it's after dark. It's moved up a little bit, and you can actually see the reflection in the water. So it's definitely a real object. And this was taken by the YouTube channel Crying Hippie from Canada. Now, this would seem to indicate that there has to be a red light emitting object. Either it's illuminating the actual moon, or there's a red object in the atmosphere, and then it's being covered up with a holographic projection of the moon superimposed on it. But either way, we have a red light emitting object in the sky. Now, the moon cannot go through 2 eclipses 2 days apart. It's simply impossible. The only reason why the moon would appear to be red or orange 2 days after an eclipse is if it is being illuminated by red or orange light. This would then indicate that the moon is being illuminated by stellar cores, energy bound to the Earth, which emit these colors of light. However, since the moon does not appear to be red or orange everywhere at the same time, the moon cannot appear to be colored due to being illuminated by these colors of light. Because if the moon was being illuminated by a red light emitting object, then it would look red from everywhere on Earth where we can see the moon. And in addition, we cannot have 2 eclipses 2 days apart. The moon's orbit simply does not allow it. So it cannot be that we're having an eclipse. And again, if that was the case, it would also be having an eclipse seen from only a certain region from the surface of the Earth and not others, which is impossible again. So the moon actually appeared to be normal pearl white and gray from most regions of the Earth on July 29th, so whilst seemingly appearing to be either orange or red from others. And this is only possible if what we are observing is actual red or orange objects in the sky, which are then hidden with a holographic projection of the moon superimposed on them. And the fact that they can only be observed locally also indicates that they must be very close to the surface of the Earth. So we would have to have actually small stellar cores very close, perhaps in the upper atmosphere or touching the Earth's atmosphere, and so that they are seen from certain points on the surface of the Earth and not others. So for example, here, an observer here will see this object, or an observer here will see this object, but this observer will not see that object. That object will be below the horizon for that observer. So this is the only, whilst if this object was further away from the Earth, it would be seen. Especially since it's emitting light, it may be not very clear because of the haze in the atmosphere due to the chemtrails, but because it is emitting light, that light would be seen. Would most likely be seen. Now, it therefore seems that stellar core matter causes the emission of these different colors when interacting with the Earth's atmosphere. Stellar core matter may come in different forms, with each form emitting different colors of light, but since all objects are likely to be very similar in makeup, it may be more likely that they may emit different colors according to their degree of energy depletion. Stellar core dust and asteroid-sized pieces seem to be continuously entering the Earth's atmosphere and causing colorful clouds. These stellar core pieces or debris seem to originate from the material shed by the large stellar cores when they arrive at the sun's corona. You may look at article 259 entitled Large Planet X Object and Debris in the Inner Solar System. This material has filled the inner solar system and is producing the many-colored or white dots often seen in images coming from sun-observing spacecraft. The blue stellar core was observed shedding a last remaining layer of material clinging to its blue light-emitting core surface. And you may look at article 286 entitled Planet X is Blue, the first stellar core, for more details on that. And here we see one of these images where we see these black and white dots. Even in front of the sun, is clearly not stars because they are in front of the sun. And we see a large stellar core here hovering close to the sun. It's very large, as you can see. It's about half the size of the sun, between a third and half the size, so much larger than Jupiter. So this is one of the stellar cores, and they just hover, and you can see CME material draped across it. But it's definitely one of the stellar cores that is now energy bound to the sun. And we see the material, and we know that this material, that they do shed their outer layers of material. So this is likely to be that material, the debris. I call it debris because it's shed, it's unwanted material. I tend to think of that as debris. But these objects may come in many different sizes. There's most likely a lot of dust, and there will most likely be some of these objects that will be moon-sized or even Earth-sized, because these objects are so huge. And so whatever clumps of matter comes off their upper layers may be very large pieces as well. And stellar core matter interacting with the Earth seems to vary in size. Thus, particles which are most likely continuously entering the atmosphere are most likely producing luminescent clouds, and clouds emitting different bright colors of light, such as pink, red, and orange, and perhaps also blue. And you may look at Article 272 entitled Noctilucent Clouds and Planet X Debris in the Earth's Atmosphere. Asteroid-sized stellar core matter seems to also be entering the atmosphere on occasion and emitting its own color of light. These asteroid-sized stellar core matter objects seem to also produce bright tails behind them. And this seems to be what we are observing here. These were two objects moving side by side, and obviously not outside the atmosphere because they were moving in the opposite direction to the sun, therefore in the opposite direction to the Earth's rotation. So they have to be moved at incredible speeds in order to be outside the atmosphere. And in addition, the atmosphere, as we know, is very hazy. So these are not likely to be outside the atmosphere, but actually inside the atmosphere. And this is actually where we would expect them to be so colorful, because they are interacting with atmospheric matter that belongs to the Earth. They're absorbing energy from that matter that causes condensation of water around them. So it causes a cloud to form around them, and this cloud will emit light because of this energy absorption ability that this matter has. So as you can see, orange light, very bright from the region which we would consider the coma. And there are obviously two of them moving side by side. And they don't move like normal meteors because they do not obey a normal gravitational law. So they don't just collide with the Earth. They hover in the atmosphere or move at high speeds in the atmosphere. These objects also absorb, seen close to the sun, hovering, absorbing energy from the sun. And sometimes they are observed just moving at high speed through the sun's corona. So they would do the same thing that they do in the sun's corona, which is the sun's atmosphere, the upper atmosphere of the sun. And they would then do exactly the same thing in the Earth's atmosphere because it is the same type of matter, stellar core matter. And you may look at Article 248 entitled Planet X System Objects Interacting with Earth for more details on these two objects. Now, large-sized stellar core matter is likely to heat the upper atmosphere, lead to radiation being emitted from the upper atmosphere, and also ionized atmospheric matter they come into contact with, which may then lead to discharging or lightning between these objects and the surface of the Earth. And so these will be observed as intense lightning storms, possibly in colors never seen before, such as this violet color that we are seeing here, lightning which is violet, and clouds that seem to be violet, and there seems to be a cloud that's moving down towards the surface that appears to be violet as well, and more there. But this cloud seems to actually be emitting this color. You can see more here that's also emitting this violet light. And this though is peach colored cloud, so, and that one's in the background, and this is likely to be as a result of stellar core dust entering the atmosphere. So what we are actually most likely seeing here is stellar core dust in the atmosphere moving down towards the surface and causing cloud condensation to occur, and that cloud to emit this color of light. And the purple color is the light is more likely produced as a result of a small moon-sized object up here, or a large asteroid-sized piece of stellar core matter in the upper atmosphere, and above the point where the lightning seems to originate. The objects do not, as I mentioned, obey normal gravitational laws and do not simply fall to the surface. They hover in the sun's corona, and they will therefore also be able to remain suspended in the Earth's atmosphere for a very long time. Eventually they will absorb energy, and possibly the dust first will be able to gain enough energy to be able to interact gravitationally with the Earth in a more normal manner, and therefore fall towards the surface. And you may look at article 210 entitled Stellar Core Gravity, Tidal, and G is not constant, where I talk about the gravity of this type of matter, stellar core matter, which is energy depleted matter. Now, the interaction between the stellar cores and the Earth will thus greatly heat the upper atmosphere, lead to emission of radiation from the upper atmosphere, and result in intense lightning storms within the Earth's atmosphere. In other words, the stellar cores are causing the Earth to do more of the things which stars do in order to emit light from their atmospheres. It is likely that they are doing the same to all the other planets in the solar system. In conclusion, the pink moon observed from one region on the surface of the Earth was not from other regions. During the lunar eclipse of July 27, 2018, seems to indicate the desire by the powers that be to cover up the presence of a pink light-emitting stellar core matter, or possibly an object, or possibly a small moon-sized object in orbit around the Earth, with holographic projections of the moon in the same color as the light emitted by the object being covered up. The observation of a red or an orange moon in the sky by several people also seems to indicate that the presence of other stellar cores emitting these colors and also in orbit around the Earth is being covered up with holographic projections of the moon superimposed on these objects. Different colored clouds and objects moving within the Earth's atmosphere suggest that stellar core matter of different sizes and at different stages of energy depletion are coming into the Earth's atmosphere and interacting with the Earth. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.